The bathroom tiles were cold against Zainab's back. Her left arm hung at an unnatural angle, throbbing with each shallow breath. Blood from her split lip had dried on her chin. The neck brace Weston had forced on her 3 days ago dug into her skin. The door shuddered. Once, twice. Her phone screen blurred through tears as she typed with her good hand. Amatola. He broke my arm, help me. She hit send to Sis and dropped the phone. The screen lit up. Beep. But the reply wasn't from her sister. Don't move, I'm coming. Zainab stared at the message. Wrong number. Had to be. The door shuttered again. Harder this time. Another text appeared. Confirm address. Her fingers trembled as she shared her location. The reply was immediate. 7 minutes. Outside the door, Weston's voice came through calm, measured, terrifying in its control. Who are you texting in there, Zainab? Zainab's breath came in short gasps, each one sending pain radiating from her broken arm. The bathroom was small, just a toilet, sink, and the locked door that wouldn't hold much longer. Her reflection in the mirror showed a stranger. Purple bruise blooming across her left cheek, neck brace stained with sweat, eyes wild with fear. The phone buzzed again. Confirm address. Her thumb shook as she tapped the location share button. The little map dot appeared. 2847 Meadowbrook Lane, Dallas. Beep. 7 minutes. Real quick, if this story has you hooked already, hit that subscribe button and drop your country in the comments. I want to see where my viewers are watching from. Now back to the story, because those 7 minutes are about to feel like forever. Zainab. Weston's voice was closer now, just on the other side of the door. That fake calm tone he used when he was at his most dangerous. Who are you texting? She pressed her back harder against the tile wall. Not who you think. A low chuckle. The doorknob rattled once, testing. That's what makes it interesting. Her phone lit up again. Hold on. 2 words. No questions. No, who is this? No, are you sure? Just a command from a stranger who somehow sounded more certain than anyone in her life had ever been. The screen displayed a timer now, counting down. 6:47. 6:46. 6:45. I can hear you breathing, Weston said. His shadow moved across the crack beneath the door. You know I'm a detective, right? I've been in standoffs before. You think a bathroom door is going to stop me? The wood groaned as he leaned his weight against it. Zainab clutched the phone to her chest, her good arm wrapped around her broken one. The pain was white-hot, but she bit down on her lip to stay quiet. 5:52. 5:51. Another buzz. Is he armed? Her fingers flew across the screen. Yes. Badge and gun. He's a cop. The reply came instantly. Not for long. You're making this worse for yourself, Weston called out. His tone shifted, that false concern he used in front of others. Baby, I'm worried about you. That arm needs medical attention. Let me in and we'll go to the hospital together. I'll tell them you fell. Clean. Simple. Like always. Like always. Her stomach twisted. How many times had he said those words? How many bruises had she covered? How many lies had she memorized? 4:23. 4:22. The doorframe cracked slightly. Weston wasn't leaning anymore, he was working the lock. You think someone's coming to help you? His voice dropped lower, stripped of pretense. In this city? From me? I am the help, Zainab. I'm the one people call when they need saving. Her phone buzzed. Do not open the door. Do not respond to him. Stay against the far wall. Zainab slid down the tile until she was sitting, her broken arm cradled in her lap. The bathroom window was too small to climb through. The door was failing. 3:15. 3:14. Last chance. Weston's shadow shifted. Open it now, or I open it my way. And you know what happens when I have to do things my way. She did know. Her arm was proof. The phone screen glowed in her hand. 2 minutes 40 seconds. I'm almost there. Then, underneath. You're not alone anymore. Zainab stared at those 4 words. A stranger's promise, from a wrong number. But it was the only promise anyone had made her in 3 years. 2:8. 2:7. Outside, Weston stopped talking. That was worse than the threats. When he went quiet, he was calculating. The doorknob rattled one more time, then silence. 1:45. 1:44. Zainab held her breath and watched the timer count down. 1:12. 1:11. The door exploded inward. Not a kick. Not a shoulder. Weston had used something, a tool, a pry bar, and the frame splintered like kindling. He stepped through calmly, badge clipped to his belt, gun holstered but visible. His uniform was pressed, crisp, like he was on duty, like this was procedure. Zainab scrambled backward, her broken arm screaming as it jarred against the toilet. Weston's eyes locked on the phone in her hand. He crossed the distance in 2 strides, fingers closing around the hard plastic of her neck brace. Not squeezing. Not yet. Just holding. A reminder of where her air came from. Give me that. No. His grip tightened slightly, the brace pressed into her windpipe. You want help? Her vision blurred at the edges. I want air. Earn it. His other hand shot out, grabbing for the phone. Zainab twisted, pulling it away, and her broken arm caught between them. White-hot agony exploded through her shoulder. She gasped, the sound strangled by the pressure on her throat. Weston's fingers closed around the phone, yanking it free. He released the neck brace and stepped back, scrolling through the messages with professional detachment. His jaw tightened as he read. 0:47. 0:46. Who is this? He turned the screen toward her, showing the unknown number. Yun? You're texting some guy named Yoon? Zainab coughed, sucking in air. She hadn't seen a name, just the messages. I don't know, she wheezed. You don't know. Weston's laugh was cold. You send your location to a stranger and you don't know who he is? 0:31. 0:30. He said he's coming, Zainab said, the words barely a whisper. Weston crouched in front of her, still holding the phone. His expression was almost curious. Coming where? Here? To my house? He held up his badge with his free hand. You think some random guy is going to walk into a detective's home and rescue you? 0:18. 0:17. The phone buzzed in his hand. Weston looked at the screen. His face went very still. 30 seconds. Move away from her. How does he? Weston stood abruptly, moving to the broken bathroom door. He looked down the hallway, toward the front of the house. Nothing. 09. 08. This is a prank, Weston muttered, but his hand drifted toward his holster. Some internet thing. You found some... Outside, car doors slammed. Multiple. Heavy. Synchronized. Weston froze. 03. 02. 01. Footsteps on the driveway. Not running. Not hurried. Measured. Coordinated. Professional. Weston's hand closed around his gun. That's backup, he said, but his voice had lost its certainty. That's my backup. I called it in before I came in here. Zainab pushed herself up the wall with her good arm, legs shaking. That's not your backup. Everything is my backup. He pulled the gun, keeping it low, pointed at the floor. This is my city, my district, my... The footsteps reached the front door. No knock. No announcement. Just the sound of the lock turning. Smooth, mechanical, like someone had a key. Like someone had every key. Weston backed toward Zainab, putting himself between her and the hallway. Stay behind me. Not tonight, she whispered. The footsteps entered the house. More than 2 people. More than 3. They moved with the precision of a drill team, fanning out through the rooms with barely a sound. Weston raised his gun, aiming toward the hallway. Dallas PD, identify yourselves. Silence. Then, from somewhere in the house, maybe the living room, maybe closer, a voice came. Male. Calm. Unaccented, but with a careful precision to each word. Detective Weston, put the weapon down. Who the hell are you? The wrong number. Zainab's breath caught. The footsteps moved closer, unhurried, as if Weston's gun meant nothing, as if his badge meant less. You have 5 seconds to leave my house, Weston called out, his voice cracking slightly on the last word. No. Just that. One word. Final. The footsteps stopped just outside the bathroom doorway. Weston's gun hand trembled, and then a man stepped into view. The first car door slammed like a gunshot in the quiet Dallas suburb. Then another. Another. 4. 5. Maybe 6. Weston's head snapped toward the sound. his gun still trained on the bathroom doorway, but his attention fractured. His eyes darted to the window, then back to the hall, calculating. "That's my unit," he said too quickly. "I called it in. Domestic disturbance. They're here to help." Zainab pressed herself against the bathroom wall, her broken arm throbbing with each heartbeat. She could hear it now, the footsteps, not the chaotic rush of patrol officers responding to a call. These were different, measured, synchronized, like a metronome counting down to something inevitable. "That's not your backup." Weston's jaw clenched. "Everything is my backup." He raised his voice, projecting toward the front of the house. "Officers, I'm in the master bathroom. Suspect is contained. Stand down and wait for my signal." The footsteps didn't stop. They didn't speed up either. Just that same steady rhythm, moving through his house with the confidence of people who knew exactly where they were going. No radio chatter, no sirens, no voices calling out positions. Just footsteps. "Weston!" Zainab's voice was barely a whisper, but he heard her. "Not tonight." His hand tightened on the gun. "Shut up." The front door's lock clicked. Not broken, not forced, just opened. Like someone had inserted a key and turned it with perfect precision. Weston backed up 2 steps, putting himself directly between Zainab and the hallway. For a moment, just a flash, she saw something in his face she'd never seen before. Fear. "This is private property." His voice cracked on the last word. "Dallas PD. Identify yourselves or I will." The footsteps entered the house. Multiple sets, moving with military efficiency, spreading out through the rooms. She heard them in the living room, the kitchen, the hallway. Coordinated sweeps. No words exchanged, just the whisper of expensive shoes on hardwood floor. Weston's breathing quickened. "I'm a decorated detective. 12 years on the force. You think you can just walk into—" "Detective Weston." The voice came from somewhere close, maybe the bedroom, maybe just beyond the broken bathroom door. Male. Calm. Each word measured and precise, like someone who'd learned English as a second language and mastered it to perfection. "Put the weapon down." "Who the hell are you?" Weston's gun hand trembled, sweat beading on his forehead. "The wrong number." Zainab's breath caught. The phone. The texts. The stranger who'd said "I'm coming" and actually meant it. "You have 5 seconds to leave my house," Weston shouted, his voice thin with false authority. "This is your only warning." Silence. Then, from just outside the doorway, "No." One word, flat, final, like a judge reading a verdict. The footsteps moved closer. Not rushing, not hesitating, just approaching with the inevitability of a tide. Weston raised his gun higher, both hands wrapped around the grip now. "I will shoot. I'm within my rights as a—" "You have no rights here." The voice was closer now. Right outside. And there was something in it, not anger, not emotion at all, just cold certainty. Zainab slid further down the wall, making herself smaller. Her broken arm screamed, but she didn't make a sound. Couldn't. The air in the bathroom had changed, charged with something she didn't understand, but could feel in her bones. Weston's finger moved to the trigger. The footsteps stopped. And then a man stepped into the doorway. He didn't burst in, didn't charge, just appeared, as if he'd always been there and they were only now noticing. Tall, maybe 6'1". Expensive black coat, perfectly tailored. Dark hair swept back. Asian features. Eyes that looked through Weston rather than at him. In his hand, held casually at his side, was a phone. Zainab's phone. No, his phone, with her messages on the screen. He looked at Weston's gun with the mild interest someone might show a child's toy. Then his gaze shifted to Zainab. Recognition flickered across his face. Not surprise, not sympathy, just recognition. Like he'd been expecting to find her here. Like this had always been inevitable. The first car door slammed like a gunshot in the quiet Dallas suburb. Then another. Another. 4, 5, maybe 6. Weston's head snapped toward the sound, his gun still trained on the bathroom doorway, but his attention fractured. His eyes darted to the window, then back to the hall. "That's my unit," he said, voice steady, controlled. "I called it in. Domestic disturbance." Zainab pressed herself against the bathroom wall, her broken arm throbbing. She could hear footsteps now, not the chaotic rush of patrol officers. These were different, measured, synchronized. That's not your backup. Weston's jaw tightened, but his gun hand stayed steady. Professional. Everything is my backup. He raised his voice, projecting authority. Officers, I'm in the master bathroom. Suspect is contained. Stand down and wait for my signal. The footsteps didn't stop. They didn't speed up either. Just that same steady rhythm, spreading through his house with surgical precision. No radio chatter, no sirens, no commands being called out. The front door's lock clicked. Not broken, not forced. Just opened like someone had the code, the key, the blueprint to everything Weston thought was secure. His finger moved closer to the trigger, but his voice stayed calm. Predator calm. This is private property. Dallas PD. Identify yourselves. The footsteps entered. Multiple sets. She heard them in different rooms. Living room, kitchen, hallway, moving with the coordination of a SWAT team, but with none of the noise. Zainab. Weston's voice was still controlled, but there was an edge now. Sharp. Who did you really text? Before she could answer, a voice came from somewhere close, maybe the bedroom, maybe just beyond the shattered bathroom door. Detective Weston. Male. Calm. Each word measured with careful precision. Put the weapon down. Weston's composure cracked just slightly, a flicker in his eyes. Who the hell are you? Silence. Then footsteps, closer now. Unhurried. The wrong number. Zainab's breath caught. Weston's gun hand finally trembled. You have 5 seconds to identify yourself or I will. You'll do nothing. The voice was closer now. Right outside the doorway. Because in approximately 40 seconds, Sheriff Kyler will call you. And when he does, everything you think you control will disappear. Weston's face went pale. Kyler? How do you... 35 seconds. The footsteps stopped just outside the doorway. Zainab could see a shadow now, tall and still, backlit by the hallway light. Weston raised his gun higher, both hands wrapped around the grip, but she could see it now, the fear breaking through his training. I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but 20 seconds. And then a man stepped into view. Tall, expensive black coat, dark hair, Asian features, eyes that looked through Weston rather than at him. In his hand, held casually, was a phone. He glanced at it once, then at Weston. 15 seconds. I suggest you answer when it rings. His gaze shifted to Zainab, and recognition flickered across his face, not surprise, not sympathy, just recognition, like he'd been expecting to find her here all along, like he'd been watching, like he'd been waiting for exactly this moment. Weston's phone began to ring. The gun hung loose in Weston's hand now, pointed at the floor. For a moment, the only sound was breathing Weston's ragged, Zainab's shallow, Yoon's perfectly controlled. Then Kyler's voice came through the speaker again, heavier this time. There's one more thing, Weston. Weston's eyes closed briefly. Sir, Omotola Adeyemi was reported missing 4 hours ago. The world tilted. Zainab's good hand shot out to brace against the wall. What? Her roommate filed the report when she didn't come home from work. Kyler's voice was careful now, like he was walking through a minefield. Last known contact was a text to you, Weston, at 3:47 p.m. She said she was coming to check on your wife. No. No. Zainab's vision blurred. Omotola, her sister. The one person who'd kept calling, kept trying, kept refusing to believe the lies about falls and accidents. He didn't. The words came out strangled. Weston's eyes snapped open, and for just a fraction of a second, less than a heartbeat, something flashed across his face. Not guilt, not remorse. Calculation. I did what I had to. Zainab's stomach dropped to the floor. Yoon's head tilted slightly, a predator catching the scent of blood. His eyes locked onto Weston with a focus that made the air in the bathroom feel thinner. He did what he wanted, Yoon said quietly. That's not... Weston's voice climbed. Sheriff, I don't know anything about Omotola's whereabouts. She texted me, yes, asking about Zainab, and I told her everything was fine. That's it. That's the last contact. Your phone's GPS puts you at a warehouse on Industrial Boulevard at 4:23 p.m. Kyler didn't sound tired anymore. He sounded cold. You want to explain what you were doing there? Following up on a case. I was on duty. You logged off duty at 3 p.m. Each word from Kyler landed like a hammer. And that warehouse? It's owned by Marcus Holt, your brother-in-law. The same Marcus Holt who's been under investigation for evidence tampering. Zainab couldn't breathe. The neck brace felt like it was crushing her windpipe. Marcus, Weston's sister's husband. The one who'd helped Weston fix things before. The one who'd made a domestic violence complaint disappear 2 years ago when a neighbor got too curious. Where is she? The words tore out of Zainab's throat, raw and desperate. Weston, where is my sister? Weston didn't look at her. His eyes stayed fixed on Yoon, and his hand tightened around the gun grip again. She's fine. She's probably at home by now. Her roommate probably just panicked. Her car is parked 3 blocks from that warehouse. Kyler interrupted. Keys still in the ignition. Phone found on the passenger seat. So I'll ask you one more time, detective. Where is Omotola Adeyemi? Silence. Weston's jaw clenched. His finger moved toward the trigger again, and Zainab saw it the moment he decided that the only way out was through. But Yoon saw it first. He shifted his weight almost imperceptibly, and the 2 men in black behind him moved in unison, hands disappearing inside their jackets. Weston. Yoon's voice cut through the tension like a scalpel. If she's hurt, you have minutes to fix this. If she's dead, you have seconds. I want a lawyer. You'll need a priest. Yoon took 1 step forward, and somehow that single step made him seem twice as large. Where is she? Weston raised the gun again, hands shaking, sweat pouring down his face. Get out of my house, all of you. This is still my... Yoon's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and something changed in his expression. Not alarm, not concern, just a slight narrowing of his eyes, like a chess player seeing a new move on the board. He looked at Zainab. Your sister is alive, he said. For now. Yoon turned fully toward Zainab, his back now to Weston's gun. The movement was deliberate, unhurried, as if the weapon pointed at his spine was nothing more than an inconvenience. Do you want her alive? The question was direct. Simple. No comfort in it, no false hope. Just a binary choice laid bare. Zainab's broken arm throbbed with each heartbeat. Her throat was dry, the neck brace digging into her skin. She looked past Yoon at Weston, at the man she'd married 5 years ago, the man who'd promised to protect her, the man who'd systematically destroyed her piece by piece, the man who had her sister. Yes, 1 word, but it felt like signing something in blood. Yoon nodded once, a slight inclination of his head that suggested he'd already known her answer before asking. He glanced at his phone again, then slipped it into his coat pocket. Then you come with me. She's not going anywhere. Weston's voice cracked on the last word. The gun rose higher, aimed at the back of Yoon's head now. Step away from her. This is your last warning. Yoon took a step forward instead, toward Zainab, away from the door, directly into the line of fire. He positioned himself between her and the gun, his expensive coat blocking her view of Weston entirely. She could hear her husband's breathing now, rapid and shallow, the sound of a man whose control was slipping. Move. Weston's command came through gritted teeth. No. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. I will shoot you. Weston's voice climbed higher. I am authorized to use deadly force against intruders threatening my family. Move or I will. You'll die. Yoon's tone didn't change. Flat. Factual. Like he was reading a weather report. Zainab pressed herself harder against the tile wall, trying to see around Yoon's shoulder. Weston's face was red, slick with sweat, his eyes wide and white-rimmed. The gun shook in his grip. You first, Yoon added softly. The 2 men in black shifted slightly, their hands still inside their jackets. Zainab realized with sudden clarity that they weren't waiting for Weston to shoot. They were waiting for Yoon's signal. The moment Weston pulled that trigger, they would move faster than Weston could blink, faster than he could turn the gun on them. Weston saw it too. His eyes darted from Yoon to the men behind him, calculating odds that didn't add up in his favor. You think you can just walk into a cop's house and... I already did. Yoon tilted his head slightly. The question is whether you're stupid enough to make this worse. Worse? Weston's laugh was unhinged. You're threatening a law enforcement officer. You're harboring my wife. I'm standing between you and the woman you've been beating for 3 years. Yoon's voice dropped lower, each word precise and cold. And in approximately 90 seconds, Sheriff Kyler's units will arrive. They'll find you holding a gun on an unarmed man while your wife bleeds on the bathroom floor with a broken arm. How do you think that will look in the report? Weston's finger twitched on the trigger. Zainab stopped breathing. Yoon didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't even blink. You want to shoot me? Yoon asked, conversational now. Go ahead. But the moment you do, they'll kill you. He gestured slightly toward the men in black. And then who finds your sister? Who tells Sheriff Kyler where Marcus is keeping her? Who makes sure she gets home alive? The color drained from Weston's face. That's what I thought. Yoon extended his hand back toward Zainab without looking at her. Come. Zainab stared at his hand, steady, patient, waiting. Beyond him, she could see Weston's gun still raised, still aimed, his entire body trembling with rage and fear, and the desperate realization that he'd lost control of everything. She pushed herself off the wall with her good arm. Pain shot through her broken limb as she moved, but she didn't stop. She reached for Yoon's hand, and the moment her fingers touched his, Weston pulled the trigger. The gunshot never came. Yoon's hand closed around hers and pulled not roughly, but with absolute certainty. At the same instant, one of the men in black moved with impossible speed, his hand locking around Weston's wrist and forcing the gun toward the ceiling. The shot went wild, punching through plaster and insulation. The sound was deafening in the small bathroom. Then everything moved at once. The second man in black had Zainab, supporting her weight as Yoon released her hand and turned to face Weston. More men appeared in the doorway. How many had come? Forming a corridor from the bathroom to the front door. Go, Yoon said without looking back. The man supporting Zainab was gentle but efficient, keeping pressure off her broken arm as he guided her through the house. She glimpsed her living room overturned furniture from Weston's earlier rage, the lamp she'd knocked over trying to reach the door, evidence of the life she was leaving behind with each step. Behind them, she heard Weston shouting, struggling. Kyler's voice came through the phone speaker, demanding to know what was happening, warning that units were 2 minutes out. They reached the front door. Night air hit her face, cool and clean after the suffocating bathroom. The driveway was full of black vehicles, SUVs, sedans, all with tinted windows. Neighbors' lights were coming on up and down the street. The man guided her toward the nearest SUV. The door was already open, interior dark leather and the smell of expensive cologne. Wait. Zainab pulled back, her broken arm screaming. The police, Kyler said. Not police. Yoon's voice came from behind her. He'd followed them out, moving with that same unhurried pace. Not yet. I need to tell them about Amotola. I know where she is. Yoon gestured to the vehicle. Get in. Zainab's legs wouldn't move. Sirens wailed in the distance now, growing closer. Red and blue lights reflected off windows down the block. Who are you? The question came out broken, desperate. Yoon stood in the driveway, backlit by the light spilling from her house. His face was half in shadow, but his eyes caught the glow dark and unreadable. Late, he said quietly. Why come? He looked at her for a long moment, and something shifted in his expression. Not quite softness, not quite regret. Something older and more complicated. Because you asked. The sirens were 2 blocks away now. Maybe less. Your sister is in a warehouse on Industrial Boulevard, Unit 47. My people are already there. Yoon opened the SUV door wider. You can wait for Dallas PD to navigate the politics and paperwork while Weston's brother-in-law moves her. Or you can come with me now and see her alive in 20 minutes. Zainab looked back at her house. Weston appeared in the doorway, restrained by 2 men in black, screaming her name. The sound was ugly, possessive, furious. She climbed into the SUV. Yoon slid in beside her and closed the door. The vehicle was already moving before she'd fully settled into the seat. The SUV didn't go to Industrial Boulevard. Zainab realized it after the 3rd turn, when they headed north instead of east. She twisted in her seat, pain flaring through her broken arm. You said 20 minutes. You said, my people are getting your sister. Yoon's eyes stayed on his phone, scrolling through messages. You're not going to a warehouse. That's not your decision. It is now. The vehicle pulled into an underground garage, sleek concrete and LED lighting, the kind of parking structure that belonged to buildings with doormen and security cameras on every corner. They stopped beside a private elevator. Yoon's door opened before the engine fully cut. He walked around and opened Zainab's door, extending his hand. She ignored it and climbed out herself, cradling her broken arm. Her legs shook, adrenaline finally crashing. The elevator ride was silent. 37 floors. She watched the numbers climb, each one taking her further from the ground, from escape, from anything she understood. The doors opened into a penthouse that looked like it had been carved from glass and steel. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed Dallas sprawled below, city lights glittering like scattered diamonds. Minimal furniture, no photographs, nothing personal except a single painting on the far wall. Korean calligraphy, black ink on white silk. A woman waited inside, mid-50s, wearing scrubs and carrying a medical bag. She gestured to the leather sofa without speaking. "Sit," Yun said. Zainab sat. Not because he told her to, but because her legs finally gave out. The medic worked efficiently, cutting away the neck brace first, then examining her arm with gentle but thorough precision. Zainab hissed when the woman manipulated the brake, checking alignment. "Needs x-rays," the medic said in accented English. "But I can stabilize it." Yun nodded and moved to the windows, phone to his ear, speaking rapid Korean. Zainab caught fragments, names, locations, numbers, nothing that made sense. The medic wrapped her arm in a proper splint, gave her water and 2 pills. "Pain medication. Not strong. You need hospital." "I need my sister." "You'll see her soon." Yoon ended his call and returned. The medic packed her bag and left without another word, the elevator doors closing behind her with a soft chime. Zainab stood, swaying slightly. "Take me to the police. I need to give a statement about Weston. About—" "No. You can't keep me." "I can." Her good hand clenched into a fist. "I didn't agree to this." Yoon crossed his arms, leaning against the window frame. The city lights behind him made him look like a silhouette, more shadow than man. "You agreed when you survived. That's not how consent works." "No?" His head tilted. "You got in my vehicle. You took my help. You let me bring you here. Because you said Omotola is safe. My people have her. She's unharmed. Marcus Holt is in custody." He checked his phone again. "She'll be here in 40 minutes. If you're feeling that relief right now, go ahead and smash that like button. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and make sure you're subscribed because this story is far from over. Now, let's see what Yun's really been hiding." Zainab's breath caught. "Here. Where else would she go?" Yun's eyes found hers. "Your house isn't safe. Hotels aren't safe. Weston has connections throughout Dallas PD. This building has security he can't penetrate. For how long? Until he can't hurt you anymore." Zainab moved to the windows, keeping distance between them. The pain medication was starting to work, dulling the sharp edges but leaving her thoughts fuzzy. Why? Why what? Why any of this? She turned to face him. "You don't know me. I texted a wrong number and you came with an army. You knew about Weston's reports, the hospital records, the corruption. You had evidence ready for the sheriff." Her voice rose. "Who are you really?" Yoon was quiet for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he moved to a side table and poured 2 glasses of water from a crystal pitcher. He held one out to her. She didn't take it. He set it on the window ledge beside her and drank from his own glass. "I've been investigating Weston for 8 months. Why? He's part of a network. Cops who use their badges to bury evidence, manipulate witnesses, protect each other." Yun's jaw tightened slightly. "They cost me someone 2 years ago. A witness who was going to testify against a trafficking ring. She called 911 17 times. Every call was deleted by officers in that network. She died in her apartment while they looked the other way." Zainab's throat constricted. "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry. Be alive." He turned to look at her fully. "When I started tracking Weston, your name kept appearing in hospital records. Always the same pattern. Always his signature on the reports. I started monitoring his movements, looking for leverage. So I'm evidence." "You're not evidence." "Then what am I?" Yoon's eyes held hers, and something in his expression shifted like a door opening just slightly, revealing a glimpse of something vulnerable beneath the control. 3 months ago, I went to hear a quartet perform at the Meyerson Symphony Center. Fundraiser for the arts. I don't usually go to those things, but I needed to meet someone there. Zainab's breath stopped. The Meyerson. She'd played violin there in June, filling in for an injured musician. 1 night only. You were the second violin. Yoon's voice was quieter now. Brahms. You played like you were trying to break something open. Like the music was the only thing keeping you from falling apart. She remembered that night. Weston had been on duty. She'd had 3 hours of freedom, 3 hours where her hands could do something other than defend or hide. She'd played with everything she had left. I looked you up afterward, Yoon continued. Found your name, your marriage license, your husband's badge number. Started watching more carefully. He paused. When your text came through tonight, I recognized the address. So, you were already watching my house. I was watching him. Yoon's expression hardened again. You were just collateral damage I was trying to prevent. And now? Now you're mine to protect. Yoon's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, then stepped away to take the call. Zainab watched his back, the way his shoulders tensed slightly as he listened. When he spoke, it was in Korean again, rapid, clipped commands that carried the weight of authority. He ended the call and turned back to her. Your sister is secure. My people extracted her from the warehouse 20 minutes ago. Marcus Holt tried to move her when he heard sirens. He didn't succeed. Relief flooded through Zainab so intensely her knees buckled. She caught herself on the window frame. Is she hurt? Bruised. Scared. Alive. Yoon moved to a laptop on the glass desk, typing quickly. She's being checked by a medic now. She'll be here soon. And Marcus? In federal custody. Yoon's fingers paused on the keyboard, along with evidence linking him to 6 other cases of evidence tampering. Sheriff Kyler is cooperating, but he's in a difficult position. What position? Yoon turned the laptop screen toward her. Security camera footage showed a conference room. Kyler sat at a table with 2 other men in suits, all looking grim. The corruption network is deeper than Weston and Marcus. 3 captains, 7 detectives, 2 prosecutors. They've been protecting each other for years. Zainab stared at the screen. How do you have access to this? I have access to many things. Yoon closed the laptop. The problem is proof that will stand in court. Most of their crimes are buried under procedure and plausible deniability. We need them to expose themselves. We? You want Weston in prison? Yoon's eyes locked on hers. Or do you want him to walk in 6 months because a judge throws out evidence obtained through questionable methods? Zainab's jaw tightened. What are you proposing? A performance. Yoon leaned against the desk, arms crossed. Public. Documented. Something they can't deny, or bury. We don't negotiate with them, though. It wasn't a question. She'd seen how Yoon operated total control. No compromise. We don't negotiate. Then what? We perform. A slight smile touched Yoon's lips, cold and calculating. We give them an opportunity to incriminate themselves completely. We make them think they're winning, then we spring the trap. Where? Somewhere public. Somewhere they feel confident. Yoon's phone buzzed again. He checked it, then looked back at her. Weston posted bail an hour ago. Ice flooded Zainab's veins. He's out? Temporarily. Kyler couldn't hold him on the domestic violence charge alone. You'd need to press charges formally, and his lawyer argued you were in shock, possibly coerced by my presence. Yoon's voice stayed level. He's claiming I kidnapped you. That's insane. That's strategy. Yoon moved toward her. He'll come for you, publicly, to prove he's the victim. That's when we trap him. How? Yoon's smile widened slightly. Give him exactly what he wants. The elevator chimed. Zainab's head snapped toward the sound, her body tensing. But when the doors opened, it was Omotola who stumbled out wrapped in a blanket, face streaked with tears, a bruise darkening her left cheek. Zainab. They crashed together, Zainab biting back a scream as Omotola accidentally jarred her broken arm. But she didn't let go. Couldn't. Her sister was solid and warm and alive. I thought he killed you, Zainab whispered into Omotola's hair. I thought... I'm okay. Omotola pulled back, taking in the splint, the fading bruises, the exhaustion carved into Zainab's face. But you're not. God. Zainab. Your arm. Later. Yoon's voice cut through the reunion. He gestured to the sofa. Sit, both of you. Omotola's eyes narrowed as she noticed him for the first time. Who the hell are you? The person who kept you alive tonight. Yoon moved to his laptop again, pulling up multiple windows, security feeds, documents, what looked like floor plans. And the person who's going to make sure Weston never touches either of you again. By kidnapping us? Omatola's voice was sharp despite the tremor beneath it. By giving you a choice. Yoon turned the laptop screen toward them. Weston posted bail. He's making a statement to the press in 2 hours, claiming Zainab was taken against her will by a criminal organization. He's positioning himself as the concerned husband fighting to save his wife. Zainab's stomach churned. Of course he is. We let him, Yoon said simply. We give him a public platform, let him tell his story, play the victim, gather sympathy, and then we destroy him with evidence he can't deny. Omatola frowned. What evidence? You. Yoon looked at her directly. You'll testify about what happened tonight. Marcus taking you, threatening you, admitting Weston sent him to handle the situation. It's all recorded. My people had body cameras. That won't stand up in court if they were illegally obtained, Omatola said. She worked as a paralegal. She knew the system. Which is why Sheriff Kyler will request them as part of his investigation. Yoon pulled up another window, an email chain between his people and the sheriff's office. He's willing to cooperate if we deliver clean evidence. The laptop speaker crackled, and Kyler's voice came through a video call. His face was haggard, older than it had looked hours ago. I can't work with criminals, Kyler said, but his tone suggested he already knew he'd lost that argument. Yoon's expression didn't change. You already are. You just don't know it. Excuse me? Your department has been compromised for years. Every time you signed off on one of Weston's reports, every time you approved his overtime for domestic calls, you were working for criminals. Yoon's voice was clinical. The only question is whether you want to be complicit or part of the solution. Kyler's jaw clenched. A long silence stretched between them. This ends tonight, Kyler finally said. It ends when Weston breaks. Yoon leaned forward. And he will break. Publicly. Permanently. But only if we do this right. Kyler exhaled slowly. What do you need from me? The press conference was set for midnight at Dallas City Hall. Weston's lawyer had arranged it prime time for the late news cycle. Maximum visibility. Yoon's laptop showed multiple feeds. The building's exterior, the press room filling with reporters, Weston arriving in a fresh uniform, face composed in practiced concern. Zainab watched from the penthouse, Omatola beside her, both of them silent. Yoon stood behind them, phone in hand, coordinating. Team 1, position. A text appeared on screen, in place. Team 2, confirm visual. Another feed opened body cam footage from inside the press room. Yoon's people were posing as journalists, cameras ready. Weston took the podium, cleared his throat. The performance began. My wife, Zainab, was taken from our home tonight, by armed men. I'm asking anyone with information. Cut to warehouse footage from earlier. Omatola bound to a chair, Marcus pacing, checking his phone. Marcus's voice distorted but clear. Weston said to keep her quiet until he figures out what to do with the sister. Cut to Kyler's office. Sheriff reviewing documents, his face grim. Back to Weston at the podium. I'm a decorated officer. I've dedicated my life to protecting this community. Cut to hospital records scrolling across screen. 17 incidents, all Zainab's injuries, all marked accidental. Zainab's breathing quickened beside the laptop. Cut to Weston's phone records displayed on the main screen. Texts to Marcus. Handle it. Make sure she doesn't talk. Whatever it takes. Yoon's finger hovered over a button. Sheriff, are you ready? Kyler's voice through the laptop speaker. On your signal. Weston continued. These men who took my wife are dangerous criminals. Yoon pressed the button. Every screen in the press room switched to the warehouse footage. Omatola's terrified face, Marcus's threats, Weston's text messages scrolling alongside. The room erupted. Weston froze at the podium, his practiced expression cracking. He looked around wildly, trying to understand what was happening. Kyler entered from the side door, 2 federal agents flanking him. Detective Weston, you're under arrest. The cameras captured everything. His face draining of color. His hands moving toward his gun before remembering where he was. His mouth opening and closing, searching for words that wouldn't come. Yoon closed the laptop. It's done. Now, in the penthouse as dawn broke over Dallas, Omatola was asleep on the guest bed. Zainab stood at the windows, watching the city wake up. Yoon approached with coffee, setting a cup beside her. I didn't text you on purpose, she said quietly. No. So why are you still here? Yoon looked at her, really looked. Like he had that night at the Meyerson when she'd played violin like her life depended on it. Because now, it's not a mistake. His phone buzzed. Once, twice, urgent. Yoon's expression shifted, not fear, but something colder. Calculation. What is it? Zainab asked. He read the message, jaw tightening. Weston wasn't working alone, and he wasn't at the top. What does that mean? Yoon looked at her, then at Omotola sleeping in the next room. It means tonight was just the opening move. From the guest room, Omotola's scream shattered the silence. They ran, found her sitting up, face pale, hands shaking. I remembered something, Omotola gasped. At the warehouse. Before Marcus took my phone, I heard him talking to someone on the phone. He kept saying, "Yes, Judge. I understand, Judge." Yoon and Zainab exchanged looks. The judge? Zainab whispered. Yoon's phone lit up with another message. He read it, and for the first time since she'd met him, Zainab saw something close to concern cross his face. What? She demanded. Yoon showed her the screen. Captain Reyes is moving assets. The judge knows about the girl. You have 12 hours. To be continued. So, do you want part 2? Comment wrong number right now. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and tell me in the comments. Do you trust Yoon? Or is he just as dangerous as Weston? Drop your thoughts and where you're watching from. Part 2 is coming.